Yo, what's the dealio, man? Listen, in this video, you already know we got a banger for you, all right? Now, before I get into this video, I want to say I'm going live today at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, okay? So be sure to tune into this live tonight. I'm about to be dropping some good stuff. All right, I'm gonna help you guys, all right? So we got a trade of the day today. I'm gonna talk about how I smacked MRVL Marvel Technology for, it was a 30% trade, okay? I was done in the market within 30 minutes, all right? Now, I wanna say, the trading does not have to take all day, all right? I said yesterday, you can use the stock market for however you wanna do it, all right? And so 30%, let's break down this 30% real quick, all right? What do I always say? If you go to the bank and you tell them, hey, I got $1,000 and I want you to give me a 10% return in 20 minutes, can they do that? No. All right. So the returns that we get with trading stock options is very, very, very powerful. All right. Once you learn how to get 10% a day, it's going to grow to 15% a day. Then it's going to go to 25% a day, all right? And then you're going to consistently learn how to make 30, 40, 50% in the stock market every day, and you're going to be able to grow your wealth, grow your portfolio, and buy more shares of whatever stocks that you want to buy, okay? So with that being said, I want you guys to understand that, all right? Now, we hit Marvel for 30%. This was a scalp, all right? Now, you already know I'm going to go to the charts, and I'm going to break all of this down for you, all right? Now, let me give you perspective. This trade I was in less than 3 minutes, all right? Let's just say less than 5 minutes. But here's the kicker. 30%. If you put $100 into this trade, that's $30 back, all right? Most people will work for an hour for $25, all right? So in a couple minutes, we made somebody's hourly wage, right? In returns, okay? If you invest $100, $30. $1,000, that's $300. So you put $1,000 in this trade, that's $300. $10,000, that's $3,000, and we talking about in minutes, y'all. All right, in minutes. So I want to make sure that I'm breaking this stuff down so that you guys understand the power of what this is. You do not have to get rich in one trade, all right? I always say, get rich over time, not overnight. Keep that in mind, all right? Don't forget that. Get rich over time, not overnight, all right? So we hit Marvel. All right, and remember yesterday's video, I talked about the 15-minute orb, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys something. I also hit HIMS as well, off the same strategy, but let's go into it. All right, so we got this MU right here, so we got Marvel, okay? So let's look at this real quick. Now Marvel, if you look at it, this is the 15-minute. We could go to any time frame, but let's go to the daily real quick. All right, so you go to the daily time frame. Look where we at. All right, so we inside of this gap right here, right? So we should be going up to like 83 bucks. Okay, but we don't have any real resistance here, right? But let's go back to the 30-minute. All right, so when I got into this trade, let me tell you what I was thinking. So we opened up, right? I want to go to the 15-minute real quick and show you. So remember, this red line is the bottom level of the orb for the 15-minute, and this green line is the top level, all right? It's the top level. So what happened was I saw that yesterday, Marvel closed at this level right here. All right, at 75.92. All right. At 75.92. So we're going to put a white line right here. It closed right here at 75.92. All right. And then it opened up right here at 79. So it gapped up by $4. All right. It gapped up by $4. Right there. So it's a gap right there, okay? So when I saw this right here, remember these wicks. These wicks mean a lot of selling pressure if they're at the top of the candle, and they mean a lot of buying pressure at the bottom of a candle, okay? So seller stepped in and pushed it down, and then buyer stepped in and pushed it up, right? But what happened was, because we gapped up so heavy, And then I saw this candle right here. I said, oh, this is a layup. All right, so this candle opened up and I immediately took my entry into puts right here. Okay, so I took my entry into puts right here. Okay, entry to the downside. Okay, and then what happened? Literally got in right here and rode this thing down all the way right here. It was so simple. It was very quick. All right. Everybody in the Discord was like, some people didn't even catch it because that's how quick it was. All right. And then I took my exit right there. All right. And then I got 30%. It was that simple. All right. Now, as you can see, buyers stepped in and they pushed it right back up, but we got out before the buyer stepped in to push this thing back up. Okay. This was more of a see profit, take profit trade. This was not a day trade where you can hold it all day and walk away from the computer and stuff like that. But it was a great trade. I was done real early. Now, here's another thing that I want to point out. So you see that this is the orb right here, right? So because this was the orb and then it had rejected off this top right here already, then that was a rejection off of the orb. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the orb, how you can get in the orb and you can say, okay, once it breaks above this orb level, I'm gonna get in calls right here and ride it to the upside, right? You can do the same thing to the opposite. You can say, okay, if I see it reject off this top orb right here, then I'm gonna get into call to puts and ride it down to the bottom orb. And if it breaks below that and closes below that, then we could go lower, right? So look at what happened. It came to the bottom orb, closed right at it, started to bounce to the upside. You see what I'm saying? So you could do it. You could do an orb when it breaks out of the orb range, or you can go from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. That's another way you could do the orb as well. This orb strategy, it allows you to, it puts an outline on your trading and it helps you understand what's going on. Okay. So I also hit HIMS later on in the day. Look at HIMS then went crazy today. All right, so look, hit them, got out not too long ago, right? This is the orb strategy as well, right? 15-minute orb right there, top level. It broke above it, closed below it, came down to test the level, and boom, okay? I took an entry right here and I let it ride. All right, so this is the orb. Right? We could go to IWM. Look at IWM. 15-minute orb, finally broke above it. You wouldn't want to chase it right here, okay? But it came back down here, bounced off of here, went to the upside. All right? That's how you want to play that, right? So that's three different stocks that got the orb. Let's look at MU, okay? Boom, orb strategy right here, came down. Boom. You could have got in right here. You really would have wanted to get in off a rejection off the 9 right here and come down, but it looked like it's creating a double bottom right here and it could be going up later on, okay? But this orb strategy is effective. It gives you an outline and it helps you get this money a lot faster and a lot simpler, okay? So you could say that's like a reverse orb strategy if you wanted to. If you want to dive in deep on the orb, I made a video about the orb strategy. So be sure to go into on my YouTube channel and go watch that orb video, okay? Now, if you want to, understand all the intricacies of should you enter in on the 5-minute, the 15-minute time frame, should you do a 30-minute orb strategy or whatever, one of two things, okay? If you want to trade with us, join the Discord. That link is in the description. If you want to do a one-on-one, then be sure to click the link in the description and we could do an hour and we could go in and we could refine your strategy, okay? But here's the thing. You do not want to suffer in silence, all right? Let's speed up your process. Let's speed up your ability to be able to print this money in the stock market, okay? And a lot of times it's discipline and it's risk management. Those two things right there, if you do not have proper risk management and you do not have the discipline, you ain't never going to be profitable. All right? So we smacked Marvel today in a few minutes, 30%. Hit HIMS as well. Listen, the stock market is a beautiful thing once you understand how to play it. All right? So I hope that made sense. I hope it helped you guys out. All right? Like I always say, get out of your head and go get into this world, because your head is a dangerous place to live. All right? Also remember, the more you study, the less you worry. All right? I'm going to see you guys tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on YouTube Live. All right? Peace.